There's something brewing in Baltimore, and it's not just another injury on the Ravens report. It's the pressure, the tension, the uneasiness surrounding John Harbaugh and this football team. What happened at Harbaugh's recent press conference says a lot more than people might think. You've got a head coach snapping at reporters, brushing off questions about his franchise quarterback, and showing visible signs of frustration. And let's be clear, it wasn't just one offhand comment. It was a pattern throughout that presser that screamed, "I've had enough." And honestly, you can feel it in every corner of this Ravens organization right now. It started with the same question everyone's been asking. What's up with Lamar Jackson? And Harbaugh gave the usual coach speak. "We're taking it day by day," he said. Nothing concrete, nothing reassuring, just vague deflections about checking the injury report. But as the questions kept coming, especially after a follow-up asking for clarification on whether Lamar was indeed day-to-day, Harbaugh cut the reporter off and basically said, "I'm not saying anything. That's not normal. That's not a calm coach in control. That's a man who's tired, who feels the walls closing in a bit." And can you blame him? The Ravens are banged up beyond belief. 13 players from the active roster were on the injury report by midweek, including key starters like Lamar Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, and Kyle Hamilton. On top of that, another 9 players are already on injured reserve or other injury lists. That's 22 players, almost half the team, dealing with some sort of injury 4 weeks into the season. That's not just bad luck. That's borderline disastrous. But let's go back to Harbaugh's tone, because that's what really stood out. This wasn't a coach calmly answering tough questions. This was a guy visibly irritated, borderline dismissive, even sarcastic at times. When asked about another injured player, Nate Wiggins, Harbaugh shot back, "Why don't we just wait and see tomorrow? How about that?" You could almost hear the edge in his voice. Then came a question about Lamar again, and that's when Harbaugh clearly had enough. He laughed, but not in a funny way. It was more like that, "Are we really doing this again?" kind of laugh. It was uncomfortable, and it said more than words could. What we're seeing is a coach under pressure, not just from fans or media, but from within. The product on the field hasn't been good. The defense has fallen apart statistically, the offense is inconsistent, and this team looks tired. Not physically, but emotionally. They look drained. They look like a team that's carrying the weight of expectations and not handling it well. And Harbaugh? He's starting to project that pressure outward. We've seen this bubbling before. Earlier this season, he took a jab at Todd Monken, his offensive coordinator, publicly questioning the personnel decisions during crucial downs. Then there was that moment after the Browns game where he called a lateral pass, one of the dumbest things he's ever seen. Again, that's not just tough coaching. That's public venting. That's a guy losing his grip a bit, and now it's spilling out in press conferences, in interviews, in how he talks about his players and staff. And speaking of losing grip, let's talk about the defense. Baltimore's secondary was hyped coming into the season. 5 first-round picks, a mix of veterans and young studs. On paper, it looked elite, but the reality has been anything but. They rank near the bottom of the league in almost every major defensive category: rushing touchdowns allowed, passing yards allowed, third down conversions, points per game. And the worst part? They haven't forced a turnover outside of games against the Browns since last Christmas. That's wild. That's not Ravens football. It's reached a point where even Harbaugh's once reliable veterans are being questioned. Marlon Humphrey looks like a shell of himself. Jaire Alexander, who the Ravens brought in hoping for a boost, hasn't been available since the opener. Nate Wiggins has shown flashes, and Kyle Hamilton still makes impact plays, but that's not enough when the rest of the secondary is either hurt or underperforming. And when you're getting gashed through the air and giving up big runs on the ground, there's only so much the scheme can cover up. Which brings us back to Harbaugh, because when the injuries pile up, when the stars aren't producing, when the press is asking hard questions, that spotlight gets brighter. And right now, Harbaugh's under it, and it's not a flattering look. The press conference tone wasn't an accident. It was a symptom of a larger issue. This team feels like it's at a crossroads. One win, and things might feel salvageable. One more loss, and the whispers grow louder, not just about Harbaugh's temperament, but about his future. The Ravens aren't just injured. They're worn out. They're not just losing games. They're losing control. And if Lamar Jackson can't go this week, things could spiral fast. Because let's not forget, behind Lamar is Cooper Rush, a capable backup but no game changer. And that Texans defense they're facing? They've been among the best in the league in multiple categories. They don't give up big plays. They don't give up points. They don't beat themselves. If Lamar is sidelined and Rush has to take over, this isn't just a tough matchup. It's a minefield. Houston's defense will be licking their chops, especially if they can load the box and not worry about Lamar's legs. And on the other side, C.J. Stroud and that Texans offense are coming off a big win and are starting to find their groove. They've got confidence. They've got speed. And they've got the kind of energy that Baltimore right now just doesn't have. That's the scariest part. One team is ascending. The other feels like it's falling apart. And so, as this Week 5 clash approaches, it doesn't just feel like a regular season game. It feels like a test of identity for John Harbaugh, for the locker room, for the whole Ravens organization. Are they going to rally? Are they going to rise above the injuries, the pressure, the headlines? Or is this the moment when everything that's been bubbling under the surface finally boils over? If the pressure wasn't already high enough, now there's a real chance Lamar Jackson doesn't even suit up for this crucial Week 5 matchup. That's the kind of blow that can tilt an already unsteady ship. We're talking about a quarterback who isn't just the face of the franchise. He is the franchise. His mobility masks the offensive line's flaws. His improvisation covers for play calling that hasn't always clicked. His presence alone forces defenses to play differently. Take him out of the equation, and suddenly the entire dynamic shifts. Reports suggest Lamar is dealing with a hamstring issue and didn't practice midweek. Those close to the team say it's week to week, which is often code for don't get your hopes up. And if he doesn't go, Cooper Rush is expected to take over. Rush is a steady hand, a seasoned backup with some NFL experience under his belt, but he's not built to shoulder the load of a team that's missing over 20 players due to injury. He's not Lamar Jackson. That's not a slight. That's just reality. And now, the Ravens are facing that reality. With Cooper Rush under center, the offense shrinks. The playbook gets thinner. Defenses no longer have to respect the read option or spy the quarterback every snap. The threat of a 60-yard scramble on a broken play disappears. And that lets defenders pin their ears back and just attack. That's a nightmare scenario for an offensive line that's been inconsistent and is now dangerously banged up. Ronnie Stanley might miss the game. Tyler Linderbaum popped up on the injury report. The two guards, Voorhees and Falale, have struggled. And let's not forget, even when the line was healthy, protection wasn't great. Now, it's just a mess. So what's the backup plan? Run the football. A lot. Lean on Derrick Henry like he's still in his prime and hope he can bail you out. But even that has its problems. Henry's had flashes this season. He's averaging close to 6 yards per carry, but the volume hasn't been there. Only 49 attempts in 4 games. That's not enough. Not when you're trying to protect a backup quarterback and grind out tough games. And if you think Houston isn't going to stack the box and dare Cooper Rush to beat them, think again. The Texans have a top 5 scoring defense. They're not flashy, but they're fundamentally sound. They don't miss many tackles. They stay in their lanes. And most importantly, they're opportunistic. You give them a chance to take the ball away, they'll take it. You give them a 3rd and long, they'll shut the door. And that's the real danger. Because this Ravens offense, without Lamar, could very easily find itself in those situations over and over again. And it's not just the offense that's struggling. The defense, once the backbone of this franchise, has fallen off a cliff. They're near the bottom of the league in almost every important metric. Yards allowed, touchdowns allowed, pressure rate, 3rd down stops. They've forced just 4 sacks all season. That's not a Ravens stat. That's a red flag. And now they've got to deal with a Texans offense that finally found some rhythm last week. C.J. Stroud isn't a superstar yet, but he's poised. He doesn't turn the ball over. He reads the field well. And he's developing chemistry with his weapons, especially Nico Collins. The rookie running back, Woody Marks, has stepped in and looked sharp, not just running the ball, but as a receiving threat out of the backfield. He's not just filling a role. He's adding another layer to this offense. And that should worry the Ravens, because this defense is already struggling to contain the basics. Now they've got to deal with misdirection, screens, quick passes, and a quarterback who can stretch the field. But here's where it gets even more concerning. The vibes in Baltimore are terrible, and that matters. We're not just talking about stats and injuries. We're talking about energy. We're talking about leadership. We're talking about how a team responds when things get tough. And right now, that response feels off. You've got a head coach who seems irritable and disconnected. You've got a locker room full of injuries and frustration. And you've got a city that's starting to question what's really going on behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Houston is treating this like a statement game. They've been embarrassed by Baltimore in the past. They've lost games they should have won. But this time, they're facing a wounded animal. A Ravens team without Lamar. A defense that's leaking yards. An offensive line that's falling apart. This is the moment where Houston can flip the script. Not just for this season, but for how they're viewed around the league. This game feels like a breaking point. For Baltimore, a win keeps hope alive. A loss, it opens the door to something much worse. Changes. Questions. Doubt. Because how many times can you blame injuries before fans start looking at coaching? How many more press conferences like Harbaugh's can you have before people start asking if the message is getting stale? This team was built to contend. They had one of the deepest rosters in the league, on paper. But 4 weeks in, they look broken, physically and mentally. And don't forget what's coming. The Ravens' schedule doesn't get easier. The AFC is stacked. You can't afford to stumble through October and hope to make up ground later. This game against the Texans, it's more than just a Week 5 clash. It's a gut check, a chance to prove that this team still has fight, that they still believe, that Harbaugh still has their ear. But if they come out flat again, if they fall to 1-4, if Cooper Rush struggles, if the defense gives up big plays, the questions won't stop. They'll get louder, and they'll start from the top down. This is the kind of week where you find out who a team really is. Not just the players, but the coaches, the leaders, the entire building. Everyone's watching. Everyone's waiting. And in Baltimore, everyone's holding their breath. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In a move that's already sending shockwaves through the league, the Baltimore Ravens are rumored to have snagged defensive end Josh Sweat from a division rival, and sources say the acquisition could completely disrupt their opponent's blitz schemes. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders suggest that this potential addition is more than just a roster upgrade. It's a strategic masterstroke that could redefine the Ravens' defensive approach. For weeks, fans and analysts alike have speculated on Baltimore's plans to bolster their pass rush, and Sweat's name has been quietly circulating in backroom talks. Known for his explosive first step and uncanny ability to collapse pockets, Sweat brings a rare combination of speed and power that fits perfectly into Baltimore's defensive philosophy. The chatter around town hints that the Ravens aren't just looking for a new player. They're looking to send a message to their divisional foes, who have been scheming around Baltimore's blitzes all season. League insiders suggest that adding Sweat could allow the Ravens to implement more aggressive stunts and unpredictable blitz packages, leaving quarterbacks with virtually no time to read the field. If the rumors hold true, this move might also signal a larger shift in how the Ravens plan to pressure the quarterback in the coming months. Analysts are already speculating that rival offenses may need to rethink their entire blocking schemes, as Sweat's presence could render certain protections nearly obsolete. Sources close to the team hint that talks have been intense but highly confidential, with negotiations reportedly keeping rivals and media alike in the dark. Some suggest that Baltimore's front office sees this as a pivotal piece in a larger chess game, potentially setting the stage for a dominant second half of the season. Fans, meanwhile, are buzzing on social media, sharing both excitement and speculation over how the rumored addition could change the dynamic in the AFC North. Of course, until the ink is on the contract, all of this remains part of the swirling cloud of rumors and insider whispers that make the NFL offseason so intoxicating. But one thing is clear. If the Ravens do land Josh Sweat, their blitz schemes, and perhaps the entire balance of power in their division, could be turned upside down. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.